Welcome back to another Tinah Talks episode. I'm your host, Kelsey, and today we have a guest. This is, I'm going to mispronounce it, Jeanelle.
Jeanelle.
Jeanelle. Wow, I butchered that, and I should have asked before we.
My own husband
Jeanelle.
can't get my name right, so you're fine.
Perfect. Great. So, Jeanelle, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, absolutely no pressure at all, or no stress at all. Like I say, my own husband and everyone in Australia tends to butcher my name, so it's all good. Um, so yes, I'm Jeanelle. I am originally actually from South Africa, but I've been living in
Okay.
Australia for the last 11 years, and yeah, I'm a registered nurse. I'm passionate about helping nurses beat and prevent burnout. After experiencing my own bout of burnout within the first 6 months of graduating about 4 or 5 years ago. So, yeah, I've got two little ones. My husband is a FIFO worker. So in Australia, that does not mean first in, first out. It means fly in, fly out. And yeah, so he works away for 2 weeks and he's back for 1 week. And so, yeah, it's about just finding balance in all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when you say fly in, fly out, so what exactly does the work entail that he does? I'm not familiar.
Yeah. No, that's fine. So in Western Australia, we are basically a mining state. So
Yes.
he works as a diamond driller, underground.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Rough job, but good money,
yeah.
right? Like from what I remember.
I mean, he makes up for what I don't earn while I look after the kids.
Good man. Good man. Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about, you and your background. And you were a perfect fit for today's conversation. So we're doing this episode in honor of Stress Awareness Day, which is, I believe it's the first Wednesday of November.
Mhm.
And so just to share a little bit about that, now we all know not all stress is created equal. So some stress is good, some stress is bad. The non chronic stress equals growth, but that really chronic, ongoing level of stress that's from day to day, that's the stress that we're talking about. And that's what leads to burnout. And I
Yeah.
think burnout is such a hot topic right now. I looked up some stats around this, right? And this might be more relevant to the US, but 75% of workers, they report that they've experienced burnout. 76% say that workplace stress is what affects their mental health. And I think a quarter of employees surveyed across 15 different countries have reported experiencing symptoms. So I think it's quite common. I have experienced burnout. I know that you just said you've experienced burnout. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with it and we can jump right into it?
Yeah, 100%. I looked up some statistics a few weeks ago as well, and I found another
Oh,
study that
cool.
was published last year, and it's
Okay.
increased. It's over 80%
No.
now of people who have experienced symptoms of burnout. It is insane. This is in the nursing space.
Okay.
That 80 above 80, so 85% plus have experienced
Yeah.
symptoms of burnout in the last 12 months of their work. So it's insane. And no surprise, and we'll get into that why, but yeah, definitely. So for me, like I said, I burnt out within the first 6 months of graduating. Kind of went into nursing doe-eyed, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to save lives, and it's going to be amazing." And yeah, sure, you do help in that process, but something I realized very, very quickly was how underprepared and how under I just didn't have the tools and the skills to know how to look after myself and how to deal with what you have to deal with in the healthcare space. Now, I talk to nurses, but it can be applied to any other industry. Take nurse and insert your industry, and it'll fit probably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what happened is I was noticing some symptoms of what I didn't realize at the time was burnout. Is my I would come home and I'd be like, everyone leave me alone, no one talk to me. I want to have a glass of wine and I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Those were the criteria, like wine and bed. um, and we start like joking around with the nurses on the ward, like I can't wait for my glass of wine at home, like and then we'd be encouraging this major drinking culture, and then you hear it turned into a couple of bottles or a bottle of wine, and you're like, I'm supposed to be advocating for a healthy life for my patients, and here I am turning to non what do you call it? It doesn't really help to sustain you at all.
Yeah, no, it's To be totally honest, because for the listeners who haven't listened before, I also used to work in the clinical field. I was in inpatient psychiatry, and I worked alongside nurses. And man, like shift workers, clinical workers, they are some of the wildest people that you will ever meet. Like they can party fucking hard, and it's funny because like right, you're in the helping field and you're doing all these like healthcare based things, but I saw on the other end for like nurses or behavioral specialists or, any of the clinical shift workers, it's hard to practice what you preach because
Oh
you're,
yeah.
you're so go, 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 and you're focusing on taking care of everybody else. And I would see nurses with, smoking cigarettes or, downing bottles of wine after work because,
Yeah.
just trying to take the edge off and decompress. And yeah, nurses get after it, man. And they
Yeah.
don't have the best, what do you say, the most positive coping mechanisms. Let's just say that.
No, no, no. And I think it's definitely comes down to culture as well.
Oh yeah.
Like other than the drinking culture that I was experiencing and like allowing myself to go into, my personal relationship started to break down. I would wake up in the morning thinking like just being filled with angst of, oh no, I have to go back into work today, or like dread even. And I was like, oh, like I used to love going into work. Like what's happening? Other things like I wasn't eating well, I was emotionally eating a lot, I was not sleeping well, and when I was sleeping, I was sleeping the day away, canceling social events so that I can catch up on sleep. um,
Hmm.
the list goes on. It was just red flag, red flag, red flag, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like it'll get better surely. I just knew.
Yeah.
It
Doesn't get better.
didn't and it doesn't. It didn't and it doesn't. And when I was talking to like colleagues who had been in the industry for double, three times, 10 times the amount of time I had been in the field, they were experiencing the same stuff. And I was like, well, if these guys are experiencing it 10 years in, I don't think I'll last.
Yeah.
and
It's
yeah,
rough
it's awesome.
scene. It's rough.
It is just blows my mind how little education we receive as nurses to go into such a high stress industry. They drill it into
Oh
you.
yeah.
Ask a nurse, or you try ask most like medical professionals, what is one of the biggest things you learn, and it's about documentation.
Oh my God, yes. Because you got to make sure you're following the law to a T and you're documenting
Yeah,
exactly what
yeah,
you do
yeah.
so
If you
the
didn't,
hospital doesn't get sued.
yeah, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. Like, but then
Right.
there's no mention of like this is how you deal with the patient passing away. This is how you deal with abuse. This is how you deal with shift work. Like none of that. And so
Mm-mm.
I actually approached my clinical nurse educator and I asked her, I'm seeing these things happen. I don't want to become a bitter nurse. I would like to have a long, sustainable career. What do I do?
Yeah.
And so the answer that I got was, get used to it. It's not going to change.
That is a horrible answer. And it's a systemic problem. Like I know you're in Australia, but it's the same. It's the same
Oh
in the
yeah.
US. And
Oh yeah.
I know things have gotten right. I haven't been in the field now for 7 years, but I know that things have gotten even worse like since COVID.
Oh
So
yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
like I feel for the field, man.
It
I
is the
do
thing.
I do oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I talk to nurses and like, because I work with nurses all over the world, and I talk with nurses in US, UK, New Zealand, Canada, and obviously in Australia. And it's like same, but different environment. Like it's like,
Yeah.
you could be talking about the same hospital, the same, like you could be, yeah, you talk to a nurse, you're talking to the system.
Yeah,
um,
pretty much.
and it's funny though, because I was talking with another a nurse actually in US, and he was saying that, and I totally agree, is when you think about it, the health industry, it's not a broken system, in that when someone presents with XYZ problem, usually we can find out what it is and we can treat it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
why do people burn out if it's not broken? And it comes down to the culture in that, the working culture
Yeah.
and like the toxicity that comes with that. It's almost like a rite of passage that, oh, new meat, like I can't wait for you to experience what I had to experience. um
Yeah.
so yeah, that's one of those things that adds to the stress and adds to the burnout,
Yeah.
is toxic cultures that we're allowing ourselves to cultivate and maintain.
Yeah. One thing I would add on that outside of toxic culture, and I can't speak to Australia or outside of the US, but I would say we are very much on, um, how do you want to say this with, we're very much a consumer based commercial industry country. And
Mm.
so for a lot of our hospitals, they're all like they're all about their bottom line and profits. So it's about that profitability and like what can we provide for our clientele, but in a way that it's going to make us money and continue to make us money. So like here, yeah, could they solve problems and provide solutions to certain things like clinically or non-clinical, like outpatient, but the pharmaceutical companies, they want to make their money, so they want to just treat the symptoms rather than solve the problem. Or the hospital is going to understaff because they don't want to pay their workers to do the work so that they can make a larger profit. And so that's definitely, and I think that's like beyond hospital systems as well. That's corporate.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Everywhere.
of different industries. And then with that, because that the top from like every business is like top down structure, right? That's
Yeah.
not going to change. So therefore, there comes the toxic culture where it's like, this is what you get, and so you better learn fast, like
Deal
buck
with
up,
it.
buttercup.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
like, it's not quite as stuck and as in your face, the whole like business side of hospitals in Australia, because they are government funded, but
Mm-hmm.
they've got KPIs, they've got budgets, they've got,
Mm-hmm.
oh, sorry, we weren't able to organize anyone. You're going to have a double patient load or whatever. So it's not quite as in your face, but it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's there. Yeah, it's a little more subtle.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we touched on like, where does this come from and like how does it happen? I want to circle back to, you were talking a little bit about your experience and like what it looks like for you having burnout. And for me, and I think this is a good kind of clarification to make, I think I was burnt out, but on top of it, I was experiencing depression. And so I'm prone
Mm,
to major depressive episodes.
mm,
And I had moderate depression, I believe, for a really long time that like spiked with different life events. But for me, it was very similar. I would come home. There was nothing else that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to just like sit and watch TV. And then on my days off, like instead of going out and going outside or doing things around the house, I would just like lay on the couch and watch TV all day and be like totally numbed out and shut
yeah.
down.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was really hard to like enjoy the rest of my life. And so I do want to make this clarification for everyone who's listening, the difference between depression versus burnout. And I think
Mm,
there's two major components with, let's just say, so there's stress, right? Stress can contribute to the burnout and it also contributes to depression.
mm,
Now, if you remove the stress and you continue to be low and have loss of interest in your life and you struggle to show up and take care of yourself, that's depression,
mm,
right? If you remove the stress and you start to improve in all those other areas of your life, it was probably burnout. And so that's
mm,
one component. And I think the other component is, let's say we can't remove stress, right? Like we just, you can't do that. So if you're able to implement particular habits and behaviors to stay resilient in the face of stress and to, prevent going down that deep rabbit hole, and those symptoms kind of go away, then yeah, it's burnout. You're able to like manage and prevent it. But if you're doing all the actions, you're taking care of yourself, you're implementing like healthy habits and routines, and the stress is still happening, but like you should be able to manage it to a certain degree, but you just can't, and you kind of continue to go down that negative spiral, that's most likely depression.
mm, mm.
So I just wanted to give that kind of
I love
clarification for
that.
people
Yeah, 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 definitely.
because I had both, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, like I am very grateful that I didn't go down the depression route, but definitely my anxiety was through the roof. Regular panic attacks,
Oh yeah.
like full blown panic attacks. I think I'm gonna die type of, and it's
Yeah.
just it is full on when you don't know how. And I love that you clarified the difference between burnout and mental health, because mental health in the health space on the other side of the clipboard, it's massive. Like, yes, you've got, we know that mental health is a thing, but nurses, especially, I know, and I mean, I can only speak to nurses. Like, I identify as the nursing breed. We are hardwired to give, and
Hmm.
so we feel like almost like imposter syndrome when we are on the other side of the clipboard, and we don't like being there. It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
So it's just we don't like to admit that we are needing the help that we are supposed to be providing. And so I totally,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a real thing. Is mental health is real, and you've got massive rates of mental health concerns as well as suicidal ideation and suicide attempts. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, you say it really nicely, but like vulnerability, whether you're coming from an expert field or not, I think vulnerability is really hard for human beings. And we're very much so in this like image-based culture with especially with social media, like look at my life, I'm doing so great, all these wonderful things that,
Yeah.
whether you're an expert or not, or just trying to show that you're living a good life, it can be really hard to be vulnerable, which like kind of further perpetuates those mental health issues and burnout issues,
Oh yeah.
which is a big reason why we have Tinah Talks, because we want to
Yeah.
have those open conversations around it and like bring it to light and show like, hey, like I might be, in my opinion, I'm a kick-ass person and I like run a great business and I do all
Yeah.
these things and I have a great partner, but I experience anxiety and I experience depression, and even in my business when it's great, I have moments of where I've experienced burnout, and like that's what I help people with to try to avoid burnout. But like,
Mm, mm.
we're all human and life happens, and I think it's, really important to have those open conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Yeah. And then
one thing
learning
I
the
was going to
skills to
Oh, go
deal with
ahead.
it. And just want to
Yeah,
add, like, just
absolutely.
learning the skills. If you don't have the skills, then it's great to know about it. That's the first step.
Yeah.
First step is self awareness. You can't do anything if you don't know about it. But then it's about learning what to do about it.
Yeah. No, great add-on. And what I was gonna say is like I know you're like, yeah, I can only speak from the nursing realm, but you were telling me a little bit before this call, so I'm gonna just bring it up because I think it's great. You've been doing
Yeah.
some side, if you want to call it side hustle or additional jobs to kind of move away from feeling like you have to do nursing and only nursing. And you have, I think it's like coaching, like nursing the nurse, and you have a book which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then you also are helping new moms with lactation and, the other, what did you say? It was like choking hazards, like,
Yeah, so CPR and choking
yes,
education, potty training, yeah, so just like all things early parenthood in the nursing space. So I'm
yes,
kind of taking my nursing out of bedside and into my own business because
yes.
I love bedside nursing, but with a young family, not always sustainable. And I want to stay a nurse. Like I said, I identify as nursing breed, so I don't intend
Hmm.
on intend on moving away from nursing. I love nursing. It's just that life stage of wanting
Yeah,
to be with kids while still maintaining
yeah.
the love of nursing.
Yeah. And well, with that, what we were talking about is like you're stepping into like entrepreneurship, and there's been a whole different roller coaster with that, which is a different type of like burnout you have to identify and avoid. And I think like what people don't realize is that there are all kinds of burnout. Like
Mm.
it can be burnout from your different, career options and what you're working. It can be socially, it can be what's in the like lifestyle based. But I mean, I know that there's a couple different types of burnout, which I didn't know of. Did you know there are like 4 or 5 different
Yeah,
types of like
yeah.
burnout
There's like I
titles?
know that there's different stages, but I never really put words to each stage. So it's awesome
Mm,
to be able to put words to it and identify. Yeah, like I'm burnt on this part because if you don't mind, I'll share in my book. I actually created a
yeah.
mini wheel of life for nurses. So if you know of the wheel of life, like exercise, like
Yes.
personal development exercise, I took that and like made a mini wheel of life for nurses. And
I
the
love
main
that.
thing is to identify. Yeah, it's awesome is to identify like where am I at and like why do I feel burnout and where
Hmm.
in which area of my life am I feeling it. So in many ways, yes, I did touch on it, but I love the fact that you can add an actual label to it. Yeah, it's lifestyle, it's career, or whatever. Because for me, it was
Hmm.
more just like let's identify the subcategory, but didn't actually put a name to it. So I love that. It's great.
Yeah. And there are like other outside of like, career, life, social burnout. Within that, there are those subcategories, right? Like, which I didn't know this. There's something called like overload burnout. So it's like when you're working harder and harder and you're trying to like, chase that success, but you're now risking your health and your personal life like in place of that. There's
Hustle
under
mode.
challenge burnout. What was that?
Hustle mode.
Yeah, hustle mode. Yeah, it's like it's hustle burnout. Like you're trying to be successful and I get it. We do have to sometimes work hard and we have to go after it, but like
Yeah.
if you aren't careful with how like far you push yourself, that's where you burn out. There's what was it? Under challenged burnout. So I guess this is like where you're if you're really feeling unappreciated or bored and there's just like absolutely no growth or opportunity for growth and you're kind of stuck in one place. I didn't know that. That's a type of
That's a big
burnout, which
one.
makes
That's a big
sense.
one
Like
in nursing. Big one.
I can see that
Underappreciation.
because
Yeah.
you guys are so underappreciated. It's all over the world, and the world would fall apart without nurses, if I'm being
I mean, look, you throw a
honest.
stone, you'll hit a nurse, and without them, exactly, you won't be. You won't be. We run the hospital, we run the world.
Oh yes, yes. Who runs the world? Nurses run the world.
And they happen to be
There's
girls,
okay.
majority. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I love that. So another type of burnout is neglect burnout, and so I guess this is where you feel really helpless. And so if things aren't going right, and then you kind of start to believe, and this is very similar to imposter syndrome, and it's that like psychological pattern where you doubt your abilities, your talents, your accomplishments. And I think that's something really, really common in entrepreneurship and running your own business and or
Mm.
new to a career and like
Oh
how
yeah,
do you show up and do
yeah,
this or to a friend group like can are you socially like do you feel like you belong there and you have something to contribute to that friend group, all of that, if it
yeah.
continues on perpetually, can lead to neglect burnout.
Yeah, I know a lot of us
Um,
like we don't want to like create waves, and especially when you're in a new space, you don't want to. I don't want to make waves. Like I don't want to draw attention to me because I don't want to feel embarrassed, and I feel unsure about myself, and I think that's definitely leads into that neglect burnout for sure.
yeah, no, that's spot on. Let's see, what do we got? What else we got here? We've got habitual burnout, which again, another one I didn't know. And I guess this is where it happens when you have physical and mental fatigue, but it's like chronic, which I would say like the majority of the world is in habitual burnout. We're
Yeah,
all exhausted.
yeah, oh yeah. Ask someone how they are. Yeah, I'm good, just tired.
Yeah. And then that's that tricky where it's like, am I depressed? Am I burned out? Do I just need a cookie? What's
Yeah,
happening?
yeah, yeah. Not a glass of
Yeah.
wine.
No, not a, or a glass, like, do I need a cookie? Do I need a glass of wine? What's happening? Um, and then I think the last one that I looked up, which I had to do a little kind of digging in this one, but it's misalignment burnout. So
Mm,
this is where I think they talk about it in terms of a company, but it can also be where like you're living your life not aligned with your personal values and life principles. And so you have this constant like discrepancy, this constant dissonance between like what you believe you should be living your life as, yet you're not. And so it's
yeah,
that can lead to kind of just
yeah.
this constant discomfort, which leads to burnout.
Yeah. Oh man, this is it's hard for me to say like which one comes first and which one's higher,
Yeah.
with higher, what's the word I'm
Potency.
trying to say? Occurrent. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, I think this one is big in nursing, in the nursing space. Like, there's this trauma that nurses experience from patients passing away, being abused, and
Yeah.
then also you've got the whole. I lost my train of thought. Was I wanted to say.
That's
Remind
okay.
me, what was that thing that you mentioned? You mentioned that it's values burnout. Yes, sorry. So
Yes.
we've got this trauma, we've got these things, we've got the KPIs that we're supposed to deal with, and this understaffing situation. It's just like add on, add on, add on, add on. And then what you find is nurses like myself come into the industry thinking, I'm going to be able to help people, I'm going to be able to spend time with them, be at their highest and lowest points in their life, and I'm going to be this hero, to
Right.
people. But then when you're then told, make sure you document, make sure, now, by the way, you've got 2 extra patients on your patient load because we couldn't be bothered paying for an extra nurse, or, whatever else. Then you start going, now I'm neglecting my patients. Now I'm not able to provide as good care as I wanted. And you start going, my value of being this epic caregiver is completely just put on the back burner because I have to now comply with the hospital policy or the ward's state.
Yeah.
And so you've got and that mismatch of values leads to compassion fatigue and overwhelm and just complete exhaustion, because when you're constantly fighting against your inner being of what you value, what your beliefs are, and you're having to like suppress that so that you can
Yeah.
appease, it's a big one. You've got nurses leaving the industry thinking they're not cut out for it, but they're either in they're in one of these stages of burnout or these aspects of burnout, and it makes me so sad. And that's why I'm here with the business of and the idea and the passion for nursing the nurse, because nurses need nurses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nurses
Nurses need
need
nurses.
to be nursed. Oh, dear.
Yes, 100%. I'm glad I like that you touched on compassion fatigue, because I think, as someone, well, there's like two different aspects here, right? I'll talk about it first from the field. Like, I think people, and for people who don't know, in the nursing field, there's a love and hate relationship when it comes to psychology. So there are nurses that love psych nursing, and then
Yep.
there's a lot of nurses that absolutely disdain it. There really isn't anybody in the middle. It's either you're in it or you're out of it.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is because compassion fatigue is a little bit like more increased with psych nursing.
Yeah.
Um, right? Because I think, yeah, there's all those issues that you just talked about. But also, like, you can see people kind of get a little bit better when they leave the hospital. Like the ICU, you see improvement before they leave. But
Yeah.
typically in psych units, it's internal, so it takes like a lot longer, and the hospital's not going to pay for long-term stays these days. And so it's like, how can we get them stabilized with meds? How can we get them connected with support in the community? And how do we just kind of get them talking and started on that journey here, and then out you go? And so
Kick
you
them
never
out.
really
Yeah.
get to see you never get to see your patients like really thrive and succeed. And that can be really hard to see.
Yeah.
But on the other side, like, so I'm someone, and I think this is a lot of the world, a lot of us, we got trauma. Life is
Mm.
hard. There are
Yeah.
things that are happening. And I think a lot of us who have had particular experiences with trauma, and whether you want to say abuse or, just difficult situations growing up,
Yeah.
we tend to be people pleasers. And so then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
this like taking care, very similar to nurses, taking care of everybody else all the time. And then voila, you get compassion fatigue, which leads
Yeah.
to this burnout of living a
Yeah.
life that is not even yours.
Yeah.
And you're just
Major
kind of going
values
through
and
the
beliefs
motions.
mismatch. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Major
Yeah.
mismatch. And yeah, it's definitely, it's a huge thing. It's that, it's a cliche for a reason, is that whole pouring from an empty cup thing.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And so I always talk to learning how to become healthily selfish. If
Yeah.
you don't know how to become healthily selfish, you're going to be pouring from the empty cup. You're going to leave the industry. And when you decide to, I want to say so many things at once. When you leave the industry because you're burnt out and you're feeling overwhelmed and, all that, many nurses think, oh, I just need to quit because I can't deal anymore. I'm going to go do something else. And then they wonder why they burn out in the next career or the next ward that they've moved to. And I kind of
Yeah.
like equated to the thinking of life and stress and burnout. It's like a river, and you're on a kayak or a little
Yeah.
boat. You're going down this river. You reach rapids. Okay, this is rapids. Now, instead of navigating through it, it's incredibly hard. You don't want your boat to crash and, drown. Instead of just moving through that hard time, we pick our little kayak up, walk upstream, put it back down, expecting the rapids to have disappeared by the time we get there. Like,
Yeah. That's
it's
a
like,
great analogy. I love that.
yeah, yeah, so it's just, that's how I like always, I'm always like, just because you've changed the environment and but you haven't changed your skills or you haven't changed your thinking around it, nothing's going to change. You're going to come right back to the same issue. And I forgot what the other thing that I wanted to say, but that's a big one, is like learning that
Yeah.
I can't just run away from it. And I'm not saying that you should just, be like head down, always trying to figure it all out. It's okay to, kind of put your kayak to the side, get off, just wait, like, let's gather some more resources and learn. Let's
Yeah.
actually see, okay, what is this looking like? Get back in and let's navigate through. I mean, sure, you can walk and walk around it. I kind of say I kind of equate the like pick it up, walk around it to like having found someone who's been there and getting that help, and then you can just kind
Yeah.
of skip that. But for
Yeah.
those who want to figure it out first. Don't just run away from it.
Yeah, no, you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I, this is why I do what I do with other business owners, online business owners, because, right, they left their corporate jobs. They got into entrepreneurship because they wanted more of that financial and that time freedom without the chronic stress of what they were
Mm,
doing in their previous careers. But
mm,
they never learned how to appropriately manage their thoughts, their emotions, to like really process them, how to have coping skills to stay resilient in the face of the adversities that pop
yeah.
up, because there's always going to be something that pops up. But like, how do we
Mm,
continually manage that in a healthy
yeah.
way? And when you don't, you're just going to experience burnout again, like you said, just in a different
Oh yeah.
environment. So
Absolutely.
you're preaching to the choir.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
so important. And like you briefly mentioned resilience there, and that's exactly what another thing that I say all the time is resilience is a choice every single day. If you choose resilience, you choose to try again. You choose to try again. But the difference between choosing resilience and then learning self care, the skill of self care, versus just choosing resilience and hoping that it'll get better, is learning the
right,
skill of self care is what's going to help you move through. So resilience helps you get back up. The skill of self care helps you get through. So
yeah,
again, it's like if you've got resilience, great. But then many people think, oh, if I just go for a spa day, that's self care. Or if I just go for exercise, that's self-care. Well, there's different aspects to self-care. There's different aspects to looking after yourself. So it's about learning firstly what works for me, because one size doesn't
right,
fit all, and secondly
right.
of learning that how do I find the balance between, like you said earlier, just potatoing on the couch for 24 hours, or on all your off days, versus okay, I need to veg out for a little bit, now I need to go exercise, now I need to eat something healthy, now I
Right.
need to get some, create a sleep environment that's conducive to sleep, like all these things, they just all play in together, and then we look at our, yeah, it's just there's so many things.
I love that you're excited about it and you want to go down the rabbit hole.
I really
Um,
do.
I really, yeah, no, I really love the kind of the picture that you're painting about resilience and about self-care. Resilience
Mm,
is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart.
mm,
So what you're saying resonates deeply. And I
mm.
think that what people misunderstand about self-care is like, no, it's not just bubble baths and long walks. It's about what do you need to do to fill your cup back up for physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and to make sure that it's not getting dumped out every 5 seconds because
Exactly.
you're giving it to somebody else or
Yeah.
or you're just putting your energy out there and you're losing sight of that. And
Yeah.
learning how to cultivate their skills. There are absolutely
Mm,
skills that everybody can learn. So
yeah.
learning to cultivate that and then focusing on the mindset of, okay, what can I do to continue to navigate this because life has just slapped me in the face, right?
Yeah.
And then that's what's going to help you really go down that resilient road and like
Mm,
stay resilient in the face of the bullshit.
yeah.
And so yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, when it comes to navigating and managing burnout, what
Yeah.
are some of the things, because I know you've written a book about nursing the
Yeah.
nurse, and I know
Yeah.
this can be in the context for anybody. What are some
Mm.
of the, techniques and things that you recommend for people who are experiencing burnout?
Yeah, look, there's definitely, like I said before, no one size fits all. However, there's one particular skill that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite things, and it's in one of my it's in the very last chapter of my book, on the topic of
Mhm.
unwinding, because I feel like I not only feel, I've experienced and see it in my colleagues and in my clients, that learning how to unwind, leave work at the door, and then also unwind from home and leave home at the door as much as reasonably possible, it's a huge skill, vital to creating balance.
Yeah.
So I teach on how to unwind from a shift is doing a brain dump, and it's such a basic, simple yet incredibly powerful
Yeah.
tool to use. Is taking the contents of your brain and literally tipping it out and shaking until there's nothing left. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
literally, like your to-dos, your experiences, your emotions, your thoughts, like until there is nothing left in your brain, you keep writing, or you keep, if I'm a voice note person, so I will just like be
To you.
word vomiting. And
Yeah.
if no one's noticed by now, I love talking. I know you said you love talking, so just getting it
Yeah.
out. Like I quite literally write, this a-hole who cut in front of me on the freeway, like I want to do X, Y, and Z, like, you know, or
Yeah.
it could be something as simple as I need to feed the dog.
Yeah.
And it's like taking that out,
Yeah.
and so that you can empty your brain and just kind of get perspective, because how overwhelming is it when you've just got this, I call it like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a brain fog on steroids.
Yep.
It's overwhelming, and no wonder we feel like perplexed by it. So getting it out will then help you to get perspective, and then what you can do from there, and this is something else that we go into, is learning then how to take your to-dos out of that and then schedule it in so that you actually get stuff done, rather than just having this evergreen to-do list that never gets
Master
shorter.
list.
So yeah, brain
Yeah.
dump is a big one. It's just the first step of that can make all the difference. So give it a go. Absolutely.
Yeah. I know. So one, absolutely love that you bring that up. I actually call this word vomit journaling. Um,
Perfect. Love that.
different name. And just from a psychology perspective, to piggyback off what you're saying, what brain dump journaling or word vomit journaling does for you, it hits two really core aspects that our brain and our body needs when it comes to processing thoughts and emotions. So first and foremost, if you're brain dumping and you're just, this, asshole did whatever and cut me off, you're basically acknowledging your experiences and labeling your emotions. So you're
Yeah.
just labeling things. You're putting it onto paper, you're giving it form, and it's outside of your body instead of just sitting and stirring around and around, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
like one component. The other component that you talk about, especially like the to-do list aspect, is our brains are little like massive filing cabinets, and we have a million one things to do all day every day, and it can be really hard to manage that all just in our head. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of research around, by just putting it on paper, what it does in our brain, it's like an old school like save button. We've now saved it on a piece of paper, and our brain
Yeah.
can let it go. It,
Yeah.
it knows it's like saved somewhere for future reference. So it's
Yeah.
those two components of like labeling and acknowledging, and then saving it for a later reference kind of deal. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you brought up brain dump journaling.
Yeah.
But I love that you suggest that, and I think
Mm.
there's all sorts of different coping mechanisms and practices to learn. And the thing that I just want to add on top of that, whatever you choose, right? As I mentioned, there are three areas that you need to figure out how you can manage your energy: physical, mental, and emotional.
Yeah.
And whatever you pick what's going to work for you, something that you can fit into your life. But the whole point is that you have to make it a habit, because like a
Yes.
one and done attempt, yeah, it might make you feel good for a moment, but to really see the effects of it and to build that long standing resilience, you got to make it a habit or routine. And
Yeah. It's a
so,
compounding effect. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And I
100%.
love that you mentioned the physical, emotional, and mental aspects, because that's exactly the things that we touch on in my book.
No, it's okay. I can always ask Sophie to cut this part out.
I want to quickly finish this chat with Auntie Kelsey, and then I will come play with you. We're going to go to playgroup, okay? Alrighty, can you go see Daddy, please? You might have to close the gate, Jacko. Yeah. Thank you.
That's okay. I'll have her cut out this one section.
Thank you.
Um,
So yeah, what I love about
yeah.
all the aspects that you mentioned is that's exactly what I cover in my book. Is because I was like, I realized after I filtered through so many resources and started implementing what was working, I definitely realized that there is mental, physical, and emotional aspects. So I'll walk you through the 6 chapters. So the first one is creating setting goals, like where do I want to be,
Right.
and then we're going to self-awareness, which leads to self-care. So that's the second one, is like kind of going, what are my values, what are my beliefs, where am I at, and then we look at the more practical stuff of creating a conducive to sleep environment, looking after your nutrition, forming habits around those things and the things that we haven't gone over yet. And then the last one being unwinding. And it's just that's I'm so passionate about this stuff. Like I can go on, and I'm realizing we're already like over time, but like you could just
That's
having
okay.
such a well-rounded resource that you can apply to each aspect of your life, because like we said before, it's not just a magic pill that suddenly it's going to be better. You have to learn, and you have to identify. You can't. It's like it's like just chucking in. It's the difference between putting in a exact address into your GPS compared with a suburb or a street name.
Yep.
Like if you are identifying where do I want to be, and then identifying the road to go there, it's so different. The experience you'll have is so different when you know versus
Yeah.
when you're trying to figure it out and just taking all the detours. So yeah, anyway, enough from me.
No, I love that, and I love that you wrote a book about this. I know it's titled "Nursing the Nurse," but
Mm,
I think that this is applicable to pretty much anybody. So we will definitely be sharing your book in the show notes and all the
yeah,
information, where to find you if someone wants to get in touch with you for your services and all of that.
yeah,
Before we wrap up, I ask all of our guests this: what is one coping mechanism that you have used? And I'm going to nix brain dump journaling just because we talked so heavily about that.
yes.
But what is one of your favorite go to coping mechanisms that has really helped you manage your mental health and your mental wellness?
Yeah. I mean, for me, one big one, apart from the brain dump is huge. But one thing for me when especially since I became a mom, has been to women can't really. They always say women struggle to, like men it's very easy for them to just compartmentalize, whereas women, it's just all a jumble. So I've tried my very best to compartmentalize in a healthy way, in that I compartmentalize, like, okay, I've got my kids and I've got my work and I've got myself.
Hmm.
And those are very simple compartments, but very powerful ones, in that I've taken the compartment of self-care and I've put that at the
Yeah.
very top. And so for me, I make sure that every week when I'm sitting down to plan my week, I schedule in a time for me to do something, whether that is exercise, whether that's just going to sit at the cafe, having a coffee, whether that is, my husband and I, we met video gaming. So like, I'm a bit of a nerd in that way, like, scheduling in
Yeah.
a time that I can do something that I enjoy without
Yeah.
anyone else imposing on it.
Yeah.
And that has been
Yeah.
pivotal. It's like making time. And the reason why I mentioned more than just exercise is because, like I said before, exercise is only one part of self-care,
Hmm.
because it's still work. Your body is still
Hmm.
working. It is
Hmm.
self-care. It is looking after your physical health, but then you, like we said before, you need to look after your mental health and your emotional health. Like, you need to look after all the other aspects as well. So scheduling in time and putting it into your calendar and treating it as an appointment that you have to attend
Yep.
is been a big improvement to my self-care routine. So yeah, 100% agree. 100% recommend that. Not agree, I agree with myself, but
No, I love that. And I think, for someone who's burnt out, maybe listening to this episode and they're like, wow, there's a lot that was talked about and I'm already overwhelmed kind of deal. Um, I think a really solid place to start is kind of with what Jeanelle is saying here. And I
Mm,
think specifically, right, if you don't know where to start, you've got options. What do you think would work for you in terms of physical, mental, emotional needs? But to just get started, looking at how your current routine is, which I'm going to guess is pretty monotonous or a little bit dead, right? Because you're just burnt out and withdrawn. Pick one time a week to do something that is different than what you have currently been doing.
mm,
It can be one thing that applies to the physical, mental, or emotional aspect, but
mm.
just pick one and stick to it, even when you feel like crap and you won't want to do it. Get out of the routine you've been currently stuck in, and see how that makes you feel.
Yeah,
And actually, like, make note of that. How did that make me feel? Did I enjoy that? Is it something that I need? And if it wasn't, then the next week try something else. And
yeah,
until you land on one that feels good, then rinse and repeat, baby, and do it over and over again.
absolutely.
And then once you kind of have that in there, then introduce a new thing and see
Yeah,
what you can do to continually provide the care and self-love that you need to deal with the burnout that comes in this world and everything that it requires of us.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Jeanelle, for coming on. This was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
And appreciate you guys. Would love to hear your thoughts in the show notes. You can feel free to comment. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. We're here to support you. And so we'll see you guys next time.
It's been
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Tinah Talks podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you love what we're talking about and are ready to start changing your life through your own healing journey, follow us on our socials at Time Is Not a Healer.
The Tinah Mental Wellbeing Marketplace is now live and ready to help you take control of your mental health. Head over to timeisnotahealer.com, where we'll provide you with the best toolkit for your self-healing journey.
All of the details can be found in the episode description below. Remember, you hold the power to heal. Until next time, you've got this.